Hi, hello, and welcome to the Digital Shift podcast series. Now, when we talk about innovation in Africa, are we really talking about innovating, or are we really just adapting, consuming, and leapfrogging to what already exists? Here with me to answer that question today is none other than innovation enthusiast Abraham Onacha. Abraham, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Tobe. It's nice having me on your show today. Blessings.
So, for those of us at home, we're wondering the same thing as well. When we talk about innovation in Africa, are we really talking about innovating, or are we just adopting, consuming, and essentially leapfrogging, to what already exists? So, if you could just in a few words, tell the viewers at home what it essentially really is.
Innovation is not diminished, right? Because it adapts existing ideas. Now, oftentimes in Africa, innovation is often contextual intelligence, which is taking global concepts and re-engineering them to work under local constraints. That is innovation, which involves leapfrogging, improvisation, and adaptation that are not shortcuts. They are strategic responses to reality, right? So innovation in Africa is less about novelty and more about relevance, resilience, and scale. That's what I would say.
I find that interesting because there's always going to be new challenges, and because of new challenges, new factors that come into play, technology, obviously it has no choice but to adapt, but to evolve. Essentially, I've sort of noticed, what's the word now? A sort of outlook from outside looking into Africa, when it comes to innovation. Why is it that innovation in Africa is often misunderstood or, underestimated?
Okay. Well, I honestly want to think that it's because maybe it is judged using the wrong benchmarks. Because global narratives often equate innovation with venture capital volume, patents, Silicon Valley-like disruption.
True.
Because Africa innovation is quieter.
But, just answer me this. In innovation, is it always about creating something entirely new or reinventing the wheel?
So I would say no, and that's because I think that's a myth, right? Largely, most meaningful innovations globally are recombinations, not inventions. So Africa excels at, for instance, let's look at it from reimagining distribution models, right? Let's also look at it from simplifying complex systems. Let's also look at it from creating new use cases for existing technology.
Okay.
So innovation is really about value creation, not originality for its own sake, but you look at it from the value creation point of view. So that's also very critical as we assess or as we discuss these topics, right?
So, from four standpoints, if you could help me explain though, because with innovation, there's always going to be challenges, there's going to be bumps,
Correct.
along the road. So, from four, standpoints, if you could help me explain what constraints usually shape innovation in Africa, from infrastructural policies, access to capital and skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start by talking about the infrastructure, for instance. You have instances of unreliable power, limited broadband, logistics gap, which forces innovators to design offline first, mobile first models and all of that, right? That's for the infrastructure bit. Next is on the policy standpoint. You have inconsistent regulations, slow policy adaptation, which can stall progress, right? Looking at it also from another standpoint, which is access to capital. The scarcity of funding,
Heavy scarcity.
right?
Yeah.
Capital inefficiencies, amongst a host of others. So African startup focus on early revenue and solve real customer problems faster.
So
That sort of solves the problem really, really faster, and that's what I think. So also looking at it from the talent gap area, you'll be looking at things like cross-functional teams, a practical hands-on learning, and then local capacity building, right? That's what I really look at it from.
And we do find cases where, you know, a lot of startups usually who are doing a lot of these amazing innovations where they have mass amount of funding, mass amount of capital, and things go to bins from
That's
there on.
correct.
So really and truly, it's not really about how much you have; it's about what you can do with what is
How
given
you
already
can
from the
exactly
first,
how you can
from
put
the
it to
first
good
place.
use.
But how do these constraints actually fuel creativity?
Okay, I would say that constraint sharpen focus.
Okay.
When resources are limited,
Yeah.
you have things like waste disappears,
Okay.
simplicity becomes a strength,
Yeah.
and then solutions are stress tested from day one.
Okay.
So some of Africa's best innovation exists because there was no room for excuses.
Okay.
From day one,
from J1, yeah.
from the get-go, there is no room for excuses.
Yeah.
So they are often stress tested already from the get-go.
Yeah. The quicker the better. The quicker it feels, the better, honestly.
Exactly.
And the more you can just reiterate the process.
Exactly. Exactly.
I want us to delve a little bit deeper into that part that you just mentioned, you know, about stress testing solutions, because I don't really think a lot of people actually really understand the serious importance about that. You know, there's many, you know, spaces where solution has to be tested right on site from the very beginning, you know, before we start even talking about putting decks together and pitching to investors. You know, take for example in the agriculture space, which you're very familiar with. I'm sure you could shed a little bit of light concerning the solutions that have really transformed that space.
Okay, thank you so much. Initially, I wanted to start looking at this from an ERP point, but then using better examples where people are able to quickly relate with, and I'm happy you brought up the agricultural sector, the agricultural space. Prior to now, you had farmers with a lot of perishability, lots and lots of losses and all of that being recorded annually and all of that. But now you have technology integration simplifying this process where farmers are quickly able to deliver goods. You have people who are reaching out or looking for resources or looking for one thing or the other, quickly able to get access or direct contact with farmers. It's being delivered, reducing the perishability. Because, I mean, most of these agricultural produce have a short lifespan and
yes,
all
they
of that.
do,
But now
yeah.
with technology and innovation, you're able to deliver, reducing obviously quite a lot of time that would have been spent searching and all of that. But now you have very, very good and efficient integration system working in that space. And it's been very, very efficient. It also it boosts our export systems and all of that, where people are also able to connect with global markets and global audiences almost from the get-go or from the start and all of that. But that speaks so much about innovation. That also speaks about how advanced or how much of progress have been recorded within that particular sector. And that also goes on to other spaces like mining, like finance, like education. I mean, prior to this time, who would know that you can be able to school from home and all of that? Those are innovation, those are innovative stuffs, right? And all of that. Prior to now, in very rural areas, you have little or no access to technology where you're able to even perform one or two transactions and all of that. But with innovation, you have been able to solve quite a lot of problems, right? And this is me bringing it closer to people where they're able to relate to it almost at the get-go.
Nice, fantastic. So from farm to table, from inside of a mine with diamonds to on the wrists of
Exactly.
every individual walking on the street.
Correct.
So yeah, no, that is spectacular. What emerging technologies would you say holds the most promise right now, 2026 to 2030?
That's quite okay. I'd say I look at it from some three, four, 5 points, and because that's very interesting, right? I'd say that from, for instance, AI. you have instances where, I mean, with AI, you have things like language translation, fraud detection,
Okay.
credit scoring, health diagnostics, amongst a host of others, right? So AI is going to come up as
Advanced,
number one.
yeah.
Yeah, for
Quite
me,
advanced.
as number one. Number two, I look at it from, do I say, fintech and embedded finance,
Mm.
uh, especially for MSMEs
Okay.
and the informal economy. That would be number two.
Yeah.
Number three, I would say GovTech.
Okay.
We're looking at digital identity,
Fair.
tax systems,
Okay. Yeah.
service delivery.
Big on the tax systems
Exactly,
right now.
exactly, exactly. That's very big.
Like in 2026 recently, as of before January even came, new laws passed
Exactly,
collecting
exactly.
people's taxes by the FIRS,
Mhm.
and now everyone's been scrambling
Exactly,
left, right, and center, trying to
exactly,
get their books in order.
exactly.
Yeah.
Away from the agri-tech,
Yeah.
I also want to look at it from climate and energy tech,
Okay.
right?
Talk to me.
Currently, you have decentralized solar,
Okay.
you have smart grids, you have carbon tracking. I mean, the promise lies not really in the technology itself, but in how it's applied to African problems. That's where the real deal is. That's where the real promise lies. That's my thinking.
I think that's very interesting because a lot of founders, a lot of tech giants, everyone coming. There's like almost like a fourth industrial revolution right now that's pointing towards Africa, and a lot of people, a lot of firms, a lot of venture capitalist firms that are backing all these initiatives. They some not all of them, some but not all, tend to approach it from a create the solution first that we believe Africa needs, and then come and then present it. Whereas some take the other approach where they go in first, experience Africa in its rawness, and then come back and see the problems that its people are facing, and then tailor the solutions to actually solve those pain points. So I really think you really hit it on the head there concerning that. But when we talk about innovation, how should African organizations approach AI and automation and data?
Okay.
Especially as we're looking at it now from 2026 to 2030. You know, when this came up onto the scene, there was a lot of chaos around. We started to realize that a lot of regulations were outdated and needed to catch up to the new rising technology. So, what would be your prescription?
So realistically, I think there should be a fine blend
Yeah.
between AI and humans, right? I say that because AI on its own cannot solve all of Africa's problems in terms of innovation and within the tech space, right? Just like humans alone cannot do it. So there should be that very fine blend, that very good handshake. Let me use it as I know it as that very good handshake or that fine blend between both of them. That way you're able to unlock quite a lot of opportunities. I'm telling you, real big.
I like when you say that fine blend because what I've noticed was during like, especially as from 2020 onwards during the COVID pandemic
COVID, yeah.
lockdown, there was this whole mass frenzy on AI and what it could do, what it could possibly be, how especially consulting firms were like going to be able to save on cost and everything, and then there came these massive layoffs,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden there had to be a reversal because there was so much of an overcorrection from that. They had to like rehire, and then in the process of trying to rehire some of these forces, like people in the workforces that they laid off, have
True.
actually gone to get better jobs and so on and so forth. So yes, a fine blend is important because um, I don't know how to say this now. It's almost like a yin and yang. Both have to be in existence for the how do I say this now? The true output, the true outcome to be realized, like the future that we actually see AI actually playing a part in,
True.
requires
True.
human input and
Inputs as well.
interference in
Yeah,
the first place.
yeah, yeah. That's correct actually.
Yeah.
I totally and I quite agree with you. To I mean, to still recap and refresh what the response has been,
Yeah.
it's still centered on intentionality.
Truth on that. 'Cause-
Intentionality,
Yeah.
not just vibes or hype.
Yes.
Because some people focus on the hype, not really about the content or the exact problem that you're trying to solve.
Got to look at
So
the data.
I'm still going to go back to state categorically that you need to start with clear business problems.
Yeah.
Very clear, right? You write it out. And then you then invest in data quality. It's going to have to be clean and solid. Clean and solid. I'm going to say that again. And then you're going to now at that point focus on, augmentation, not entirely replacement of humans. You augment for it, right, in Africa. And then I would now say that you then at that point then begin to build ethical, transparent, and explainable system. Because AI in Africa must be inclusive, cost aware, and trust driven. Trust me, you can't get it wrong with this.
Okay, so now I'm your run-of-the-mill friend. I'm your run-of-the-mill friend you see on the street, or I'm a venture capitalist. You know, I'm a big serious fanatic about tech. A big serious fanatic about like everything going on in Africa right now. Talk to me. What is one innovation in Africa enterprise that I should invest in today? One innovation in African enterprise that I should invest in today. If the Digital Shift podcast wasn't happening today, you saw me on the street somewhere, you said, and you just felt in your gut sense, you're like, look, Africa needs this. Every African needs to get on this right now before it takes off. Do you get what I'm saying? Before there's a mass adoption, like you really want people to tap in early on. What would that be?
So, to be not that I didn't get your question.
Okay.
The problem for me is trying to decipher which of them to put first. I say that because Africa is blessed across almost every front at this point in time. Do you want to look at it from the healthcare landscape? Do you want to look at it from the real estate landscape? Do you want to look at it from mining? Do you want to look at it from tech? We're just beginning to rediscover ourselves. And all of the sectors holds numerous potentials and opportunities. Yet we're trying to tap and unlock some of them right now, but they all hold numerous potentials and opportunity. So that was why I took a pause initially, because there's quite a lot everywhere. Almost everywhere you turn to in Africa at the moment holds numerous values and opportunities to invest in or to tap into it. The technology space, obviously, you can see what tech is doing in Africa at the moment, right? Do you want to look at it from, just like I spoke earlier about the agri-tech space, where we're quickly able to connect buyers with sellers and all of that? Obviously, farm to table approach, amongst a host of others. Do you want to look at it from mining? You want to look at what AI and innovation is doing within the healthcare space, right? Where at the moment we're already able to, we have quite a lot of facilities now in Africa, right? Where we're able to conduct very, very, very critical, very, how do I put it? Some sort of surgeries that prior to this time you need to travel abroad and all of that. You're able to perform some of these procedures now in Africa and all of that. And with our population, with what we have, it's a market on its own. Yeah. So now you get it. Yeah. Now you see why I took a pause.
The landscape is vast.
It's vast.
The starting point.
I tell you.
There's nothing someone should wall themselves. They shouldn't just tunnel vision on one thing. They should keep themselves open.
I think everyone knows what their interest is.
Okay.
Yeah. Really, that's what I would say. Because if I, for instance, have always had an interest in agri-tech, you know that the potential there are enormous and endless. Awesome. If you're very interested in real estate, obviously, it's quite endless also at that point. I mean, look at it from almost all the other sectors as well. Yeah.
All right, then. I'll come to the end, Abraham. Thank you as always. Lovely to have you on board today on the show. And thank you
so much for having me.